Welcome to the Chris Hanna Show. What's up, everybody? Today we're talking about a new you, a new year, a new role. Are you in the right role as you kick off 2021? There are many factors that determine whether or not we are in the right role and ultimately on the right team or in the right organization. So many people are really miserable with the work that they do. Some people have fallen into a role or career that they didn't envision for themselves when they first set out. They weren't the aspirations that they were looking for when they were younger, and there's something to be said about just being so miserable when you only have so much time available, but you're in a position doing things that you hate doing, or you're doing a job where you don't feel respected, or you're not getting the appreciation or the recognition that you should. So you find yourself exhausted when you come home from work. And maybe you're working from home, so you're then working from home, miserable doing a job that you hate, and then trying to live the rest of your life with your loved ones or your family and your friends and having a hard time of it. So it's important that you find the right role, and that's what we're going to talk about here today on the Chris Hanna Show, is determining, are you in the right role or not? There are some factors that I want to talk about, and I want you to consider as we're thinking about this, because I think this is valuable. This is a time that we need to have people think about who they are, what they're doing, and whether it's the best thing for them. So the first factor I think that's worth considering is involvement. And by that I mean, how involved are you with what the organization does? Are you engrossed with your job and that you have no time to think about anything else? Are you connected to your job and that having it makes a difference, or maybe it doesn't make a difference? Right? There's some things that you need to think about here when you talk about involvement and whether that is something for you and if you're in the right role or not. I've been in positions before where I felt like an outsider, being part of a culture and part of a team, but not really feeling part of it, not really engrossed with the role or the mission or the vision of the company. You fake it, right? Because you need to pay the bills and you need to get by, but it's also such a miserable feeling to be in when you absolutely just don't align with what's going on. That can be really, really tough. Or what if you're too involved in your job that it eats up all of your spare time? And by spare time, I mean not just the hours that you put in, because sure, that might be 8 to 10 to 12 hours you might be putting into your job depending on your role. But it also takes your time outside of work. It takes you away from the things that really make a difference and really matter to you. Maybe you've got work on your brain way too much. And that's also unhealthy, because you need to have that separation. Or at least you should try to. So you need to think about, what is your level of involvement that you have with your role? Is it the right balance? Is it healthy, or is it destructive? And are you connected to that role in terms of the involvement piece here too? Do you care about what you're doing? If you don't care about what you're doing, I would argue, depending on your work ethic, you're probably giving a certain percentage of work your attention that maybe you need to give more of it to if you really cared. Right? There's a lot of people who want to get to the next level. They want to get promoted. They want to take the step up the corporate ladder, but they don't do what needs to be done because they show a lack of care or indifference to the role itself. They're not truly involved or invested in it. But maybe it's not the right fit for them. It's not the right role. Which brings us to the second point that you need to think about when it comes to whether you're in the right role or not. And that is simple. I call it joy. Do you feel pleasure and happiness with what you do? Think about that for a second. You're not going to be happy all the time at work. There are going to be things that pop up that might annoy you or might frustrate you, or you might be asked to do certain tasks that you just don't love. But if you look at it from an 80-20 perspective, 80% of the time, do you enjoy what you're doing? We spend so much of our waking day working. And sometimes we're working for ourselves as entrepreneurs or solopreneurs, but sometimes we're working for other people and we're implementing their vision. Do we enjoy doing that or not? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. If 80% of the time you are happy doing your role, fantastic. You've found a position that seems to be right for you. But if you are the opposite, and it's 80% of the time and the tasks that you do, you're miserable doing, you got to ask yourself some tough questions. If you are dissatisfied more than you are happy in a role, you're never going to get that true level of joy that you need. But if you do find you're in a position where you're getting the joy that you're looking for, then it's going to feel like most things go in the right direction for you. You're going to feel happier in all aspects of your life. Because if you are miserable in one area, that level of being miserable can follow you throughout. And so you only have so much time on this planet. And it goes really quick. So there is value in trying to find a role in which you can find that joy and happiness. The last factor that I want to talk about with regards to being in the right role or not is skill. Now, skill is really important when it comes to being in the right role. You can have all the skill in the world in doing something, but if you don't have the will to do it, that's another thing. But ultimately, what we're wanting to talk about here is, do you find that your skills and your aptitude match the job requirements? Do you actually get to use your skills to the fullest potential? Last season, one of the episodes I talked about the elimination of waste. And one of the 8 forms of waste that exist is underutilized talent. And I define that as organizations failing to fully utilize the capabilities and talents and skills of its employees. Far too often, I think that there are organizations that don't recognize the skills and the value that people can bring to the role, the team, or the organization. So it's up to people to highlight their skills in a way that gets them noticed so they can actually leverage them. Because if you are in your zone of strength, if you are using your skills to their fullest capability, that's where you can find the joy that we talked about earlier. You can be more involved with your role as well. Now, if you are in a role, you don't get to use the skills that you have, the talents, the raw abilities, it's a waste. You might be made for greater things in life, but you need to find a role in which your skill and your talents really match the requirements of the role. So you need to assess your skills and find out if you're just wasting time in a low-skilled job when you really should be going after working with something that requires a high level of skills and abilities that match what you can bring to the table. You have to find that perfect balance between going after what you want to do, but also going after what your skills tell you should do. In order to do that, you need to have a high degree of self-awareness in order to make that happen too. Now, there's a couple other factors that I think are important to note whether you're in the right role or not. And before I get into that, I want to play a little bit of an announcement here as a reminder that we do have an ebook available to help you as you're looking to go for that next job interview, to find the role that you are looking for and you really truly want. And that is my ebook, Your Definitive Guide to Prepping for an Interview, available on chrishanna.ca. Don't let an interview stop you from getting your dream job. Successfully nailing your interview requires prepping the right way to ensure that you stand out. If you've made it to the interview, you have one goal: leave no doubt that you were the right person for the job. The best way to do that is a combination of being prepared, confident, and distinct. Check out my latest ebook, Your Definitive Guide to Prepping for an Interview, available at chrishanna.ca. Invest in yourself today and improve your chances of getting that dream job or promotion. Podcast listeners receive an extra 15% off the price when you use the promo code PODCAST. Pick up your copy of the ebook today and nail your next job interview. All right, so coming back from it here, there are some other factors that I think are important to note of whether you are in the right role or not. There are factors such as the vision for the job. By that I mean, where's the job going to grow? And by say when it's going to grow, like how's it going to evolve? Is there potential for this role to have a future, or is this a dead-end job? Is it a job where there's no path forward? You can't move up, move laterally? All you can do is maintain the status quo? That might be something where you need to ask yourself about the future growth potential of the role. Are there learning opportunities within the role that you're in? Are you doing the same old thing with the same old process, the same old tools, not stretching yourself or building any sort of those neural connectors to really grow and learn? Those are things you need to consider. Like, where are those learning opportunities? How can you develop, whether it's new skills or enhance the skills that you have, but also just become better? We're in a very competitive marketplace. I would say it's almost a hyper-competitive marketplace, actually, the more I think about it. And that companies and people are in this war for talent, looking for the best and the brightest. But companies, in order to succeed, have to continually innovate. And the only way they can innovate is by having people who are continually learning, growing, evolving their approach. And so you need to find roles where you can do that. At the end of the day, you need to figure out what is the right role for you. What's the most important criteria to decide whether you are in the right role is important. But you need to review your job. You need to review the satisfaction level that you have with that role. And depending on the time of year, maybe that satisfaction ebbs and flows. I've been in positions before where I know that there's some seasonality to them, or at certain times of the year it might be a little bit more stressful than others, and maybe I like certain things that I do at certain times of the year and other times I don't. But you need to know that about yourself and make a decision of whether that is something you want to continue to accept as you move forward. You have the ability to create a meaningful life that's incredibly powerful, but in order to do that, you need to make some choices. And ultimately, you need to choose if you are in the right role or not. That call is up to you, and it can be up to the employer, but ultimately, why leave it in somebody else's hands? Make that decision for yourself of whether you are in the right position, and once you find that position, fully embrace it and go all in. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Chris Hanna Show. As always, the latest episodes are available to listen and subscribe to on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can also follow The Chris Hanna Show on LinkedIn, Instagram, or Twitter. For more resources and solutions, including blog posts, toolkits, ebooks, speaking sessions, and more, visit chrishanna.ca today. We look forward to connecting again with you soon for another episode of The Chris Hanna Show.